Hello, this is Gene. I'm gonna do something a little bit different today on this channel, and I'm just doing it on this channel because I have more people on this channel, and I might put up on my other channel that talks about movies. I'm gonna talk about a Netflix series that came out in January, I think it was, called the Ozarks, and how this kind of resonated with me, and I want to talk about that from what I talk about on this channel, and then why I think that this is something you guys should actually watch. Now this series is about 10 episodes, about 1 hour each, so about 10 hours. And personally, I probably could talk about this for the entire time of 10 hours. There's so much in here. There's so much layers for all the characters, and what it really talks about in our society, how we look at men and their nature, and females and their nature, and how that impacts people who follow, like, let's say, the Mgtow philosophy. But how it really starts is a very old tale about betrayal, and hopefully redemption for those people who are betrayed. Even those who actually give the betrayal, maybe they'll have redemption as well. Now, watching this movie, or excuse me, this series, I mean, I could talk about how it was well directed and how it looked and the sound. All that is competent and very well looking, well done. And the star of the series is the director, Jason Bateman. Now, I've always been a fan of his. I haven't really understood his political affiliations or his religious affiliations, but I mean, I was late to this. I mean, I started watching this about 2 weeks ago. I didn't watch it all together. I wanted to marinate on all the different episodes. I probably did 2 at a time. Then I waited a couple days and I did 2 more, and eventually got to just finishing it this morning. And there's so much here, and why it kept me involved and hooked, let's say. And it's not just because of, I don't know, what normally hooks people. There was parts of it that had that. Too much over the top when it comes to every episode is very dangerous and something could happen to them. I think that could be toned down in the second season. But the dread that's over the entire series is there, and it's one of those things that kept me entertained. But there's something more here than this. Because I was watching this, it seemed something a little more original how it was taken care of. Now, I don't watch all the stuff on Netflix. I don't watch all the different things that people binge watch. I did look at Black Mirror. I had my video about that, and I'll put it below for those who haven't seen it. It's that is not as original as a lot of people think it is. There are a lot of people online that says how great and original that series is. It's not. It basically takes the tropes of today and how we look at things, how we look at technology, but it's still filtered and inundated with cultural Marxism and feminism and all this other bullshit that really is not good for society. Now, again, it's art, so you have to look at it from that viewpoint. You can get upset about some of the episodes that are in Black Mirror. I did. But at the same time, it's art, and you just have to let it go with that. I didn't go and researched that. I didn't go who actually produced this, who actually starred in it, or who they normally believe, and all that stuff. I didn't do that with this. But there's something different about this series, and it made me look and to see who was behind this. Obviously, I watched the first episode, and I didn't realize that Jason Bateman was actually directing this. I don't know if this is his first directorial debut or ever. Clearly, he's more than competent as a director. But I looked into this, and I said, there's something here that's actually almost calling to me. And because there's so much here, and it's very hard for me to tell you everything, because I don't think my brain would allow me to do it. There's so much underneath out of everything here, and that's a testament to whoever wrote it and what Jason was trying to get out to us. Now, again, a lot of times when people look at stuff like this in art, especially when it comes to movies, people get different types of ideas of what the director was trying to convey to us. So I could be way off in all this stuff. Um, I don't think I'm way off when it comes to the surface of all of it, okay? But the underlining of it, uh, he may think that, Jesus, what is he talking about? But what makes me believe that I'm not way over or way out of line when I talk about this is because of his background. He is married to a Lebanese Jew Christian. His sister, who was a star in her own right, is a Reformed Christian. He is a Christian, and he's done a lot of movies recently that most Christians probably wouldn't want to go see, like Bad Words, which, you know. But each of those movies that he's done had some sort of reasons for what it was, and it still talked about betrayal and redemption and getting your way, get through yourself through life. Now, I didn't have this overt thing about religion in them, but there's so many little tales in the 10 episodes that there are in the first season. And for me to go, I could go through all of these and talk about each one of those. And I think there are people on YouTube that probably have. But I want to talk about from how I look at it, and maybe this is more individual, and maybe this is just masturbation for my own self. So if you guys watch this and you like it, that's fine. It could be me just trying to get this out, and maybe some way in the future somebody will see this and realize how very important this series is. But before I get to that, we all know that things can change in the second seasons or third seasons. We've seen it with all these other shows. They became more and more diverse, more and more status quo, let's say, you know, having to show the empowered female and all that stuff. So it may happen with this one, but I think that this series kind of like shows all those areas, but at the same time put it in context of reality. And fortunately, this is kind of like a story that's a little bit on steroids in a lot of areas, but it makes you think. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about some of the characters' arcs and what it actually means to me and what I talk about on this channel. As you know, when I first started this channel, at first it was just for my therapy, but then I started talking about anti-feminism, and then I went through a little phase where I was in Mgtow and talking about it and thinking about things like that and female nature. That's all in this series, and it's there that anybody who's in Mgtow who saw this would say, see, this is how women are. And I'm going to talk about those areas in the movie and see, is it really that, or have we become part like that that's all you see? And clearly anybody who's anti-feminist, you want to point out everything that you think is feminists, the bad parts of feminism, which is pretty much all of it, but you want to point it all out. And there's really not a whole lot of that in here. What this is a very, it's a study of male nature, female nature, who is really good and who's really bad, and what you're actually going to do to defend that or protect that or make your choices based on that, what really means anything to you. So, how do I want to start this? It's very hard, because if I talk about each of the characters, then I'm going to come into the studies of the movie or the episodes, and it makes it very hard. So I'll start off with the first episode, and what we see is a man who's successful. He has a beautiful wife, teenage kids. Looks like the boys have some issues. We'll find out more later on what those issues are and how that ties to what I talk about, how we medicate boys just for being boys. There's that in this. There's a daughter that for some reason feels that she needs to be more than she is. She's 15 years old. She doesn't look 15, clearly. But she obviously is ready to go, and she wants to, whatever women do when they're 15 years old. Some of them really want to, do stuff that they shouldn't be doing. The mother, who's very smart, has aspirations, and there's something going on there without her depression and where she goes from that. So it kind of like starts with that. So you see this guy who clearly is a businessman. He seems like he's a good guy. So it's one of those things that you look things like, ah, he's okay. He lives a nice looking guy, nice wife, kids, everything must be good. They live in a nice house. They're in Chicago, the good sides of Chicago. Not perfect, but very close to an idyllic upper middle class lifestyle. Now, we find out later on that they have like $8 million in the bank, but there's a reason why they have that much. So an opportunity comes to them, and this is back like 1970. I mean, this is hard to do, but the idea is, I want to talk from the male character right now. Jason Bateman is sitting there talking to somebody about investing, because that's what he does. He's a numbers guy. He's an accountant. And he's talking, and at the same time, somebody emails him while he's talking to these people, and it says, don't open this, it's not good for work. And what he sees is an image of somebody having sex with a female from the behind while he's talking to these people. So you understand that this guy right now, who normally wouldn't just open something like that while he's talking to people who don't even know, that there's something going on in his mind. He has some sort of suspicions that something's going on in his life. And why is that? We don't know, but we're going to know pretty soon. So we have that. So his character is being shown there. A guy's at work, making money, all that stuff. So when the Mgtows will come in and say, here it is, this is male nature. He's out there providing and protecting. And meanwhile, something's going on here. Why is he looking at that? Who could that possibly be? And we find out later on it's his wife. And we find out that there's a lot of issues with her. So there's so much here. He talks about it throughout the 10 episodes about what's the most important thing in his life. When he's about ready to get killed by the bad guys, it's what's more important, family, providing, protecting for his wife, all this stuff. That stuff that's geared deep inside of the female, the male psyche. In some way, I would say that it's hardwired into our DNA. So when you hear this, and you know that you've studied Mgtow, and you say, this is Mgtow, this is, quote unquote, the bad side of the patriarchy, or whatever, that shows that men have to be like this, that we have to always provide and protect for their family. And most people, before they become Mgtow, would be fine with that. It's a contract that we have with society that we're supposed to do this. And we were good with that till things changed. It's the family courts and all that stuff, and how a lot of these people who become Mgtow are railing against that and saying, see, this is what happens. This is a guy that's going to work every day. He's doing this for his family. They live in a nice area. The kids are healthy, and still she does stuff like this. And we have to say, you have to take a step back and say, is there a reason why she's doing it? Or do you just say that there is no reason ever for it? So we explore that throughout this series as well, to see why would she actually do this. I mean, obviously he's a nice looking guy. He brings home a lot of money, but something is wrong with her, and she has to look somewhere else for it. So we find out about this. So he's stewing over all this stuff, and we get to a point where he's going and looking for prostitutes. But he cannot be unfaithful to his wife. And he's sitting in his car, and he's just railing at it, saying, I never cheated on you, I never do this. This is the beginning of the betrayal that we have, the betrayal from spouse to spouse. Now, is it just one-sided, or is there something else here? Because females will tell you that, and not necessarily that some women will say, even if you cheat on them, they might forgive that. But if there's something else, that you're not being there for them, if you were not listening to them, or you're not helping them, or being involved, they'll use that even more than the other side. But throughout the entire series, we see that he's always there. And so you want to say, okay, as much as you know what she did was wrong, and you don't necessarily want to defend her, because we're guys, we want to defend women, right? We just do. It's something that's hardwired. But being somebody that's been down here and said, look, no, fuck them, she made a choice, so that's on her. But you're trying to find out, and throughout the first 10 episodes, I was trying to find out why she felt this way. other than the fact that I was cold off. Right? You don't really see that in the series, and maybe I missed it. It's a possibility that I missed that part where he did something like that. I think that he was overt in his wanting to provide and care for his family, especially his wife. And there was several incidences in the movie that you see that she grew up clearly without money. And then when she was a teenager, she used to go into people's houses and not steal anything, but just sit there and just love the idea that everything in there had more than what she had. And she just liked that. So I'm watching this and I'm talking, well, there it is. That's female nature. That's hypercapony. And you're seeing it evolve right here. She thought it was great when she married him and he was making good money. And then she started to get depressed when her kids got past where she didn't have to really take care of them all the time. And then she started to go dating a guy who clearly had more money than her husband, older than his mother, than her, almost like a sugar daddy. And you could just see if somebody who knows about Mgtow and knows about female nature is like, see, this is how all women are. Well, women just don't always do this on their own. There's a reason why, and unfortunately, one of the small criticisms I have of this show is that I didn't really see what he did wrong. Now, I'm a man, so maybe I have blinders on when it comes to this. Maybe I just don't see it. But I didn't see anything that he did that warranted that. Now, there's other episodes that they go back where before they make that deal with the devil, because let me tell you why he has over $8 million in the bank. A guy comes in with numbers, they talk about it, he said, obviously there's something here, and he's like, somebody's like skimming off your accounts, and since he's so smart, the character in the movie is so smart, Marty Bird, that he knows that this is like a laundering, money laundering type of business that's going on. So he doesn't want to have anything to do with it. He shows the guy, this is the issue, said, but look, I can't do this, I can't really do it. And there is a point in the movie where he tells everything to his wife. And so that's why I don't understand why she did what she did. Okay, he's always been open when it comes to that. Always asked for her opinion and stuff. She knew everything that's going on in the show. She is not somebody that found out later on and then she stayed with her man. She knew all the fuck that he was doing that was illegal. So he basically talks to her, and she clearly is excited by the idea that he's doing this because it's something that's more spontaneous. Now he's the bad boy, and she's going to make more money, and she basically opens up her legs for that. She becomes wet for it. Now, you can take that any way you want, but she's excited by the act that he's moving to the next level when it comes to financial, that he's going to be more advantageous, more adventurous. And that comes to the other thing. That little video that he saw is her being fucked from behind. And he apparently never did this. Later on in the series, about episode 8, when they seem like they're going to be able to be okay, all of a sudden their love kind of comes back together. And he's basically at that point is said, I'm not touching you. We're basically business partners. And he basically fucks her from behind and hits her like her lover did. And of course she's kind of like, what's going on here? So it's one of those weird things that he was basically claiming himself, or maybe he was just trying to be more powerful. Now, that one area of time, if she may come back and say, I don't understand why you did it, and she does in this series, but I don't know exactly what he did wrong. I still don't know what was going on. Now, anyway, so she's wet for it. She says, yeah, let's do this together. And of course, they get more money and they have nice shit going on like shit. But apparently, his business partner is stupid. They're good friends, all that stuff, but he's stupid and he starts skimming off the top. And obviously, when you start making money, some guys don't know how to deal with money. Other people do. Once you want more and more of it, and they try to do something, and of course, he gets killed. His partner, and he's almost going to get killed, and apparently they're going to go over and kill his kids and all that shit, and he comes up with a great idea about going down the Ozarks and be able to launder all his money, and he has like 3 months to do it. So during that time, they go, because they're going over to kill her too, right? At the same time, they're about ready to kill her, him, because they don't necessarily believe that he's gonna be able to do this. Let's say. So they find where the guy's at, and he's like like one of these tall buildings in Chicago in a pit house that's probably worth $3 or $4 million, right? So she said, well, I can't believe this. I need to leave out of here. I need to go. I need to go. So she, the wife, in the other betrayal, goes to, because he tells her this. He says, look, they're coming to kill us. And I have like this 20 or 48 hours to get the fuck out of here. And we got to sell the house. We got to go down here. We got to be set up to launder this shit. And we got to do all that stuff. And her first thing is to go to her lover. And then he says, I don't know what you should do, but, you know, maybe you should take all your money. So she took $29,000 out of their bank account. Of course, he took the $8 million that they had to basically pay off what his partner did without him not knowing. And so she does that. So that's the second betrayal. And he's going over there because he knows they're going to go over there once they found out that she's been fucking him. Because they're going to probably kill her. Because why the fuck they know all this shit's going on. They know that she took money out. They know all this stuff. They know where everybody's at. So they think that they're leaving. And she's like, fuck that. So they go over there, you know, and the cartel guys come up there and they throw the guy over the side of the thing, and he comes down while Barty is going up there. So he sees her, hits the ground, and he calls up to him, and they calls her or whatever. He's in the car, and he has a choice right there. The guy there said, look, I can take care of this problem right here. And he basically says, your wife can stay alive, or I'll just take care of this problem as well. I mean, basically, you've been betrayed already here, so I don't know if you can actually trust this woman anymore. And he saves her, per se. And that's when he comes up, when they go to the Ozarks and says, you know, we're just business partners and all that other shit. You know, it's like, we can't, you know, we're going to be here for the kids, all that stuff. And that's what's more important. So here's this thing I talk about, and I watch this, and I see anybody who might actually watch this and actually comment on this. Somebody who, maybe like Paul Elam, who's been doing stuff on the Red Pill, about movies that are Red Pill. And he might actually talk about this. He may talk about female nature and see, she just wanted to go for the next level as far as people that have more money and more power, more whatever. It looks at the surface that's exactly what she did. Or is it something else? And like I said, maybe I missed it, but there's something in the series that I don't see why she should ever done that. Other than the fact that it's kind of hinted at that she has some issues with depressions. And it seems like her daughter might have the same shit. So there's a scene in the movie that she's out swimming. Now, clearly this girl's gone through a lot of stress. She's 15 years old, but she's done made really bad choices. And these are outlier characters, but they're important to the story. Because, of course, if you're a parent and you have something like this going on, it's going to affect your kids. And she has her own character arc, and so does the son. Hers is a little bit more, I'm 15 years old, this is not good, I'm going to fuck some guy that's 20s, and then he leaves me, and I'm so depressed, so I'm going to go out, and everything is going on, and I'm going to go out, and I'm going to act like I'm going to die. It just, another female nature. So anyway, there is so much here that anybody who might become an MRA or Mgtow that says, look, this is it. This is what females do. They cannot be redeemed when it comes to stuff like this. If they do it, we got to walk away from them, regardless that they're the mothers of your kids. I'm assuming that's what he did there. I'm sure he said, look, in his mind he said, yeah, she betrayed me, but she's the mother of my kids. I'm not going to let her die when I have the ability to save her if I can. Now, everything on here, everything that they have to go through, again, this isn't real, everything they're going through is his creation. Now, but she had tacit approval for all of it. So the question is, if people talk about this, are we going to call her a victim of this? Or will she be looked at as a heroine when she saves the day here and there? Because, of course, women are going to save the day. That always happens in all this stuff. throughout this series already, there are several times where women have saved the day. And so those are the claim. This is the beginning of the betrayal that is so innate and so intimate when people cheat against each other to take everything that you have. Everything he did in his life was to provide, protect her. And if you actually watch the series and see how he's always attentive to her, listens to everything that she says. You know, I looked at his name is Marty Bird, and I'm like, a little birdie told you this. And I'm thinking that this man is he's an introverted person, but he listens to everything. And you'll see that throughout the entire series, how he can actually bring up ideas because he's been hearing shit all along when people are talking. His mind is always in that way. And clearly Jason Bateman is the director and he's the star, and he is clearly the smartest person in the movie. But it doesn't mean anything. You can still be the smartest person in the movie or in life. You may still make stupid choices. And his foundation is, I have to provide and I have to protect my family. Now, he kind of like got screwed here because he had a nice life. He could have told that guy to move on. Now again, maybe in the back of his mind, once you talk about stuff like this, and these cartel guys knew that you knew this shit, they probably would end up killing you anyway. So there's so much more in this movie, so much more in this episode, in this series, and I'm already at 27 minutes. There's outlier characters. Obviously, you think these guys from Chicago are going to Ozarks and they would dominate everything, but there's a whole nother area that talks about the power that's in this area. There are family that has so much power. What we find is that even though he might be the smartest person in the area, he can't just take over and do what he needs to do. But all this is still down to what his motivation is, and what at the end of the series, the motivation for her, the wife. And there's so much more here, and I would love that you guys would watch this. Obviously, I think I'd have to do another video on this, and to talk about once they get to the Ozarks and what happens. And I'm trying to be more generalistic about their relationship and what they do, what they did. There's more to her. Obviously, there's a point in the movie where she wants to go back to work, and females like to do this, especially women that are smart, empowered type women. They don't want to stay home. They stay home for 4 or 5 years, then they go back to work, and they find out it's very hard for them to go back. It's hard because they've missed out on stuff, and some people claim that that's the patriarchy that's going against women, when it's not. It's the choices they made by having a baby, and that takes up a whole other thing. There's a scene in the movie that they go back, and this is after they've had their second baby, and she's ready to go back to work, and she's having problems. Nobody wants her to hire her, even though she's very smart. She's kind of like past that demographic that they don't want to have anymore, and they get pregnant. This will be their third kid, and they're talking about this in the. This is before he has this deal with the cartel. So they're like, if we do this, we're going to be struggling. Now, again, they live in a nice area in Chicago. He makes good money. But he's like, I'll do whatever I have to do. He becomes exactly what he's been the entire movie. Was a blue pill man, provide, protect. But still with a little bit of red pill in him as well. But not like a purple pill, let's say. And he's like, you're going to do what you want to do. But he's like, yeah, I'm kind of into it. And she's like, kind of into it. And then something happens. They get hit. And she clearly loses the baby. Now, they show her being depressed before that. And of course, after that, women are, of course, both of you be depressed. And I'm thinking at this point, when he was closed off from her, that's when that happens. Which I thought maybe something happened because he goes into the house. This is after she has their interview. And you think it's right after she got hit. And we're talking about that. Or maybe I'm missing the timelines, but I don't think I am. And there's stuff on the floor, and the kids are outside, and she's upstairs, and you're like, what happened? Did she get raped? Is this why he sheltered himself from her? Because that's something that happens sometimes when when a woman gets raped, their spouse or whatever has an issue, mental issue, to be physical with them. I mean, but it wasn't that. But he was there for her, trying to help her in so many ways. And I still don't understand. And it comes back again to female nature. Women don't necessarily want that. He became almost like the friend zone here. He did. And so she's like, fuck it. He's like a friend. He's not really my lover, my husband anymore, so I'm going to find it out here. And it wasn't necessarily a hit against him so much, but there was, because this man is so introspective, so smart, so sentimental, let's say, that even though the sex was the betrayal was so much there, it was the intimation that she couldn't come up and tell to him. And of course she would say the same thing about them. And there's a nice scene where they fight it all out, and his scene at the end is that he was so hurt, that the power is so powerful by his player, because everybody's trying to defend each other, right? And he's very good at what he does and very verbal, and females have that over us. She's really good, so they're both right in a lot of ways. But at the end of the day, she made the mistake. She made the choice, and he said it many times. How many times you had choices and you still did this shit? You could have said no here, 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 and you didn't. And not one time you come to me and what's up? Not one time. But then again, as all men do, when it looks like he's going to die at the end of the first season, and he says, "This is, I'm sorry, and I love you, and I had problems as well. I had walls up. Maybe I missed it. I want to know what those walls were, because that's not what I saw." So whether he's the most blue pill guy ever out there, and he's going to do whatever he can to provide for his family, which as a man, I feel so empowered by that in a way. So this puts me back how I started this whole thing out, because I can only talk for over 30 minutes before my brain starts to fry. So I'll try to stop it right here, and then we'll talk about, when they get to the Ozarks, and I'll talk about the other characters, and I'll talk about the son, especially his son, and what they're exploring there, and where they might go in season 2 about this, because there might be some issues that I might have of how they're going to show this. What was I going to say? I was talking so much, and I forgot what I was going to say. But I don't know. So there's so much more here. So much when it talks about female nature and Mgtow and MRAs and even abortion to a point, because we talk about that it's your choice. How the blue pill man, the red pill man, his awakening, if he ever really has that. How we can look at this and say, is this something that's indicative of society itself? I remember what I was going to say now. When I watched this series, and I'm like, there's something different about this entire series and how it's actually portrayed. And I looked at his religious background, and I said earlier that he's a reform, or I think he's been a Christian all his life. And there are a lot of people that have wrote about other movies that he's done, and he talks about his faith. And I think that this series talks about it in a way that it's very hard for, let's say, a pastor to talk about this or something like that. It talks about real life scenarios that have been at the 100%, or 100% over type of shit, something that are just way out there. But it brings it all back to the simple thing about honor the wife, honor the husband, betrayal, redemption. Are we going to see any type of redemption? Because all these characters, almost all of them have this. They have this where they betrayed, or there is a hope that they can be redeemed. Even the most vile person on there might be somebody that will be redeemed. And I don't want to talk about more and more spoilers that's going on, but there are people that you think maybe should be redeemed, but there are sometimes you're like, why is she doing this and why is she doing that? But that'll be in the second series, the second episode, because that's another area right there. There's something here that talked to me. And like I said, it's rare that I talk about stuff like this, but there's so much more in this series that should be discussed, and I'm sure that somebody has, and people better than me that talks about it. But there's so much here, and I would implore you guys to actually watch the movie or the series. So when I come back from the next episode, probably next week, we'll talk about that, and maybe we'll have some comments in the below, and we can talk about what we saw, and we can see what we see, and maybe you guys can tell me what I missed, or why at the end of the day did she start this whole thing, the betrayal that she had. Could it be because he wasn't the man she expected when he did this deal 10 years ago? I don't think so. She liked the money, and the kids got to go to great school. So I don't know. So anyway, that's all I had today. Thank you for watching. It's been a very long video. I tried to get out my feelings as best I could. Please share this, and give me any comments you have below, and we'll talk about it there, and hopefully you'll stay around for the next episode in this series. Thank you very much for watching. You guys have a good day. Bye.